levels. All right, so here we have a question. Let me try to put it down. Mm, yes. All right, so this one says the company has identified that total fixed costs are constant over all levels of activity, but there is a 10% reduction in the variable cost per unit that is above 24,000 units of activity. This reduction applies to all levels of activity, not just the additional units above 24,000 units. So what's the next step? Next step is to identify the three activity levels, and we've got so they've identified the levels for us to say there is high, there is middle, and then there is low. I will have our production. Let me just copy this. We've got production at 30,000 units. We've got 25,000 units, and we have 20,000 units. So what are the total costs? We've got 356,000 naira. We've got 120,000 naira. Oh, we've got 300,000 naira. So let's see. Awesome. Right. So in this case, the first thing you're going to do is, of course, if you read the question, it says that a company has identified that total fixed costs are constant, but there's a 10% reduction in variable costs where production is above 25,000 naira. So that means from let's say 25,000 naira and 30,000 naira, we are definitely going to have that reduction in variable cost per unit, which is about 10%. And then for the low, there is no variable costs reduction at all. So first, we are going to pick like items. Since this one, there's no need for adjustment because they've actually provided the ones that are on the same side. So let's go with step one. So it's important to remember all these steps in the future during the example, because if you remember the steps, that's and you will know how to you know how to really proceed to answer the questions. Yeah. We are picking this. So the next step now is to compare and get the difference, just similar to do that step two. Step two, calculate the difference. We got difference to be okay. Just this. Mm, mm, just this. Equals to this minus this. Right. So the next step will be to understand that 500 units of products, that well 500 units will cost an extra 36,000 naira. So how much is it going to be per unit? So all we have to do is similar to what we've always been doing. Yeah, calculate the variable cost. Mhm, mhm. So we've got the variable cost at 77.2 naira. And then the next thing now is to consider what if there's a reduction in is there comments? Okay. How then do we account for the reduction in variable cost? So that means the level of activity, which is 30,000, and that of 25,000, have already enjoyed that lower variable cost of production. And then we need to, bring it back up. So let me put it as this. The implication of this is all of these are above 24,000 units. So this variable cost is discounted. I would like to use the word discounted. Now, to get the original variable cost, you have to do some work back. So that work back will basically be, we've said maybe 10% of something is 10% multiplied by something. Let me put it as X. Maybe I want to go that route. So better still just use 0.9, okay, which is 90%. I'll bring in my calculator. So that's 7.2 divided by 0.9. All right, so we have 8. I was just thinking if we had a better way of doing that. So let's do about 24,000 units. And then for variable cost, below 24,000 units. So variable cost is equals to 7.2 multiplied by 90 divided by 100. Okay. We have this to be naira per unit. Yeah, so the next step now will be to create the total cost function. Just copy. And in order to do that, we need to get the fixed cost. So there are two ways you can do this. Either one. So if you are going to be using 8 naira per unit, remember that this is for items that are below 24,000 units. So you use, if you're using 8 naira per unit, we are going to use this level of activity. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. And then if we are using 7.2, you can use either of these two activities. That means you can use high or low. So let's use I. That's 356 and 30,000. So we've got 356,000 here. We're gonna have fixed costs. We know this to be 7.2
Mhm.
and this is 30,000. Mm, 5, 6. So what is 7.2 times 30,000 units?
7.2 and 30,000, 216,000, 216.
116,000 naira. All right, so that's going to be 256 minus 216,000. So what would we have?
3 minus 2. 1,040.
On 140,000 naira. All right, so now we pick step 5. Step 5. So do this at your end. Let me see what you're going to give us.
Okay. Plus 3.5. Okay. That is 20,000 and
20,000 is not supposed to be. Or better still, let me just use A BX from here. Proceed. Mm.
okay. A plus B equals
Are you set?
yes, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Okay, let me try it. 140 plus 140 plus 140 plus 260. I don't know if I'm correct. I can't see your screen again.
Okay. Let me know when you can see my screen now.
Okay, show me.
Okay. So this is my narrow side. And I 140 thousand
Plus 260.
plus
260,000 356.
yes, you are correct. But remember that when we are constructing the total cost function, you just want to leave it as
140.
fixed cost plus variable cost per unit, then you put your S. So here we have 7.2. So that will be 7.2.
140 plus 7.2.
7.2 x. Mm, oh, so this is it.
Okay.
So this is a total cost function. Or the ones above 25,000, 24,000 units. For the one below 25,000 units, so how is it going to be? I think it's okay. So since because we did, so let that one be an assignment for you. So you go back.
So I didn't get to that one. You said the reason why it's not 140 plus 216.
Mm,
Yeah,
is
because
because so we calculated the variable cost per unit
yes,
to be 8 naira, and then we did not use the level of activity that is below 24,000 naira. What we did was above 25 naira, so we got our variable total fixed cost to be
okay. Well,
140. Yeah, so it's possible that if we use the level of activity and cost that is below 24,000 naira, it's possible that the fixed cost will change. And definitely, you will not be having a variable cost at 7.2 anymore. You have to use uh, 8 naira per unit. So what you will be doing is, as take home, as an assignment, will be for you to start from step 4. But this time, you will not be using high or middle. You use the low. So 20,000 unit, 300,000 naira. So what you'll be doing is the 300,000 naira will be the total cost, and the 7.2, which is your variable cost per unit, is going to be 8. Then you multiply by 20,000 units. You arrive at the fixed cost, and then you now create the total cost function. Is that okay?
Okay, but I'm trying to.
You're doing it already?
Mm-mm.
All right. So that's understood, I believe. So, like I mentioned before, if you go to the park, you are going to see advantages, disadvantages, limitations, and so on. So, do well to read them. So let's proceed.